Hey guys, what's going on? RetroGamer here, and today we're talking about the Miyoo A30. So I'm gonna try and be as quick as I can when talking about this handheld and just get to the point, but there are a couple things I want to talk about with this little handheld here. So the Miyoo A30 is a 2.8-inch handheld just like the Anbernic RG28XX, except this one has an analog stick. Some of them do, some of them don't. This is one of the few 2.8-inch handhelds that does have an analog stick, and it's nice. It feels nice. The whole build quality of the handheld, I have to admit, feels really nice. I like all the buttons and the analog stick and everything. It feels really premium. I really like the premium feel of this rather inexpensive handheld. However, you know, looks aren't everything, right? Looks are not everything. If the software is garbage, then looks really don't matter. And that's the problem with this handheld, is the software side of things. See, the problem is, and you know, I know this is maybe a little bit weaker than the RG28XX from Anbernic, so you know, I can't judge it too hard, I guess, but at the same time, it's like, there are a lot of things that the 28XX can do that this thing just can't do at all. And it's really disappointing because you go in expecting somewhat of a premium experience, or at least up to par with the 28XX, because you know it has that extra analog stick and you're like, oh, I can play a lot more games now and stuff, and it's just bad. When you get the handheld, it has this stock OS that's just really awful, really bad. I'm running Spruce OS. They have Spruce OS for custom firmware and Mini UI for custom firmware as well. I haven't tried that one. I'm running Spruce OS, and I'm gonna tell you, while the browsing experience is nicer, the game experience is not much better. Like, it helps out a little bit when playing certain games, but for the most part, it's like, it doesn't really do all that much, the Spruce OS, but it is nicer. If you get the handheld, I would recommend you do that. But that's the thing, you have to think about what you're looking for with this handheld. Are you willing to put a different OS on here? Because the stock experience, it's not gonna be that good. I'm just telling you right now, it's not gonna be that great. Especially, you know, if you really don't know how to do that kind of stuff, I would really not recommend getting this handheld at all. I would get the RG28XX. It does far more better. It does a lot more better things. With the RG28XX, you know, you can hook it up to a TV, you can put Bluetooth controllers on it, or you can just bring it around with you, and like, it's a great experience. It doesn't have an analog stick, but it does a heck of a lot more. But we're talking about the Miyoo A30 here. So the main problem with this thing, at least for me, and keep in mind, this is just my complaint about it. My complaint is it really doesn't run the higher end emulators like the RG28XX, and I hate doing that. I really hate to keep saying that the 28XX is greater, but it is. I had the 28XX. I bought it as a gift for someone, and I tried it out, and I was like, oh, this is great. You know, it can play Dreamcast and PlayStation like full speed, no problem. This thing, it just doesn't. And like, that's the most disappointing thing, because I bought it because that analog stick, I'm like, oh yes, I can play Dreamcast with this super small device, like it's gonna be awesome. And if you see right here, it doesn't do it. Not only does it glitch out, but it doesn't even run the games at full speed for Dreamcast. Like, Dreamcast, out of the question. And like, a lot of these higher end, out of the question. Like, N64 is hit or miss. Super Mario 64 runs perfectly. But other games I tried, like GoldenEye and Smash Bros, they run just about perfect. Like, it's hit or miss. So that's kind of disappointing. PlayStation 1, fine. Everything up to PlayStation 1, if you have Spruce OS on there, is fine. The custom firmware, it's gonna struggle on certain things here and there. But if you have like Spruce OS, like up to PlayStation 1, completely fine. You know, Super Nintendo and Game Boy Advance, like all that stuff's great. But if you're going higher up, like N64 and Dreamcast, and you can run, I guess, Nintendo like DS and stuff on here. I'm like, no, that's not gonna, just because it can doesn't mean that it will. That's the thing that really irritates me about these handhelds, is like, if it really isn't gonna run it, just don't advertise it at all. Like just don't tell people that it can run these things, because it really can't. And hey, I understand I have some hot takes right here, man. I understand I'm talking some BS, but at the same time, you ruin it for regular consumers who don't know how to do these things, like put custom firmware on there and tinker around with it. So they buy it and they get it and they're like, oh, this is actually kind of garbage, and you just sold them this garbage for like $45. And yes, I know as of recently it's gone on sale for like $20 or $25 on AliExpress. You can get it for as low as that. I bought it on Amazon for like $45 just to get it here in 2 days, but like, man, that's just like, you can get so much better for the same price or cheaper. You remember that Datafrog handheld I reviewed just like a week ago? That thing was like $25 shipped altogether, and I've been having way more fun with that thing than the Miyoo A30. It's just like, I just don't like this handheld. It's just, the experience for me is ruined. Like, yes, it has good points. It has very good qualities, and with the Spruce OS custom firmware, it does play games up to PlayStation 1 perfectly. There's no issues, and the screen looks nice. The controls do feel really well. I like the build quality, but for me, I just don't like it. I don't like the handheld. I can't say I would recommend it to the average customer. If you're willing or know how to put custom firmware on here, it might be a really good buy, especially if that analog stick really sells you. But if not, man, the RG28XX is honestly the way to go. That's what I would recommend. If you're looking for a small 2.8-inch handheld, that's really the one to go with. And, you know, I'm sorry I have all these hot takes, and I'm sorry I went on a rant, but I'm just being honest with you, man. I ain't gonna try and upsell you on this thing. It's really not that good. It's just not. You have many other options for the same price or cheaper. And that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. See you next time.